welcome back to my channel. First things first, I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched my first video. I really didn't expect to have as many views as I did so quickly. Second, everything's looking a little bit blank in my sewing room, and that is because I'm moving house shortly, just for a few months while some renovations get done in my apartment. So I'm sewing today with the bare minimum of tools. I have my essentials here and that's it. So today I am making the perfect puff sleeve top by Matchy Matchy Sewing Club. This pattern comes in two views. It's one with buttons down the front and another one that is just plain. I think the plain one is a real perfect beginner friendly top. I'm doing the buttons just because I have a bad shoulder and getting things over the top of my head is actually really difficult. And I'm going to make it out of this beautiful purple linen fabric. This is it here. Sorry, Pebby wants to come in. I love you. So I'm going to, even though this pattern doesn't come with a projector file, I'm going to try and use my projector anyway and just make sure that the sample square on the pattern matches up with my cutting mat. I've done this before and it's worked fine. So I'm going to set up my projector now, which just comes off this top shelf over on my cutting table, and cut out the pattern and then cut out the fabric. So I've cut out my pieces for the top. I didn't do the template piece of the bias binding because I might have to hodgepodge a strip of fabric together. There's three main pieces. You've got your back that's cut on the fold, your sleeve that you cut two of, and then the front. On one piece you have both view A and view B. So you cut the longer length for view B because that'll be folded over for the buttons. And then if you're doing view A, you cut at this line and you do it on the fold. So I've just finished cutting out my pattern and I've just given the linen a nice press. So I'm going to lay my fabric out and cut the pieces now. So I'm just going to go through the instructions now and get a feel for how it's put together. For reference, I'm cutting out an extra large and, as I said, the view B. So what it looks like for initial instructions is to stay stitch the neckline, and then view B, we're going to do a piece of lightweight interfacing down the front of the placket so it's got a bit more structure for the buttonholes and the buttons. Go. Just cut myself two strips of lightweight interfacing. Now I'm just going to mark the fold lines onto my top and then iron on my interfacing. So that's one bit of interfacing. So that's the first fold line. That's really faint here. And then the next fold line I'll draw on here. So the pattern says to fold the edge in 1.3 centimeters or half an inch. And then it says to fold it again 2.5 centimeters and pin in place. So that will sort of make it a nice neat placket for the buttons like that. So those plackets are done. I was going to top stitch to the edge, but I don't think I will. My cotton isn't an exact match, but it's good enough. But I don't know if you see it, I've just found this mark straight down the front of the fabric, which I'm a bit upset about. So I'm hoping it comes out once the top's finished, just with some hot water, so I don't have to throw it through the wash. But I just noticed that while I was sewing, so that's upsetting. So now we're going to attach the shoulder seams, and then it looks like we're straight onto gathering the sleeves. So this is a really quick sew. I'm kind of thinking before I do sleeves and finish the side seams of the top, I might bias bind the neckline, just because I didn't stay stitch. I never stay stitch necklines, and yes, it has come back to haunt me. So if you're a beginner sewer, don't do what I do. There have been many times where stay stitching would have helped the end garment, but I'm going to do the bias binding, and then that step is done because I hate finishing necklines, it drives me up the wall. So I'm going to get it over and done with before putting in the sleeves. Editing that here, you will see at the end of this video that the shirt comes out really big, and at this point I regret putting the bias binding in before the shoulders and the sleeves, because had I not put the bias binding in, I could have taken it in at the back as well and actually made the neckline a little bit smaller, but I ended up taking it in at the waist, down the waist side seams, because I had already finished the neck. Good idea to stay stitch, number one, but also follow the instructions and do the bias binding after the sleeves. So I'm going to make my own bias binding today out of the fabric that I'm making the top out of, and this is really, really simple to do. You can get these little tools. As it goes through the tool, it folds in the edges and makes the bias binding for you. Unfortunately, I've left all of mine at my parents' house, and I think this is just a little bit too small to make the bias binding that I want to make. So I'm just going to cut it on a 45 and then fold in the edges. So I've just given this fabric a bit of an iron. Here's the selvage. So this is the grain line. We're going to cut this on the 45. I've just done an inch wide, and then I'll fold it in by about 5 mil, as I said, and then that will give us the bias binding. I've just pinned the bias binding to the right side of the top. I have also ironed up one of the edges, and what we're going to do is we're going to sew across at about 1/2 centimetre all the way along the neckline, and then come and press it up and then flip it over onto the inside. I've just pressed the seams up here, and then on the right side I've just done a line of stitching to make it nice and neat. And now all we're going to do is fold it over to the wrong side of the fabric like this and sew along. I've just finished the bias binding. So now that that's done, I've just gone through and also clipped off the stay stitching that was visible. Most of it kind of got folded into the bias binding, so that's good. So now I'm going to get the sleeves and I'm going to gather the edges, and I'm also going to finish the bottom of the sleeve so I don't have to do that later. got back from the fabric shop. It's a little quilting shop down the street from me, and I picked up this absolutely stunning gingham. It's giving Merchant Mills vibes. It's a quilting cotton. I am gonna make, I think, another one of these tops out of it. I saw it and I couldn't say no. I didn't have much success with buttons, so tomorrow morning I'm gonna go over to my parents and I'm gonna get my button stash and see if I can find something that goes with this purple. I know that I don't have a full set of purple buttons in there, I know that for a fact, but I'm kind of thinking maybe doing a contrasting color, like a green or a yellow, just to make it pop, and then hopefully I've got some in my stash to match this. So I've just done 2 lines of stitching at a wide length for the gathering, and I've also finished the bottom edge of the shirt. So we're going to gather up the sleeves now and have them fit in the shoulder hole. So I did the gathering and then I connected it to the shoulder seam. So, and I've just also taken out the gathering stitches. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish this raw edge, and then I will connect the side seams together like this. So the bottom of the sleeve and then under the arm is where these seams meet, and then I will combine the side seams together and then repeat on the other side. So I've just finished both sleeves. I've just given the neckline a press and it sits a lot better than it did when I originally put it on, but it is a little bit too big. So I think I'm just going to take the side seams in a little bit and just make it a little bit more fitted. I know that I think on the pattern it's meant to be sort of a bit of an oversized boxy look, but I'm just not kind of feeling it like this. I know also when I like scrunch in the sleeves it'll have a different effect, but I think it'll just look a lot better if I take it in just a little bit. So I've ended up taking it in, I reckon 2 inches on either side. I think when I make it again I'm also going to edit the pattern and take some maybe about 1 inch out of the back, just so this collar doesn't sit so big. I think it would also look really good kind of tucked in. Yeah, so it looks a little bit better. It does look a lot better actually with it tucked in. It just takes a lot of the weight out, so that's nice. So I'm going to fold up the sleeves now about 1/4 inch and leave a gap in them and thread some elastic through, and that's the sleeves done. Hem the bottom of the shirt. So here's how I took it in. I started halfway down the sleeves and ran it in a little bit here under the arm, and then pivoted on my sewing machine and ran it all the way down here. So you can see my original seam line here, my second alteration which was almost 1 inch, and then the second which was probably all of it's about 1.5 inches I took in. Last night I finished the elastic on both sleeves, and I have also finished the hem on the bottom of the shirt. I took it up a lot more than the pattern says to. I just kind of felt it fit better, or looked a little bit better, a little higher. Today, I just want to sew on the buttons and put my label on the back, and then we're done. So I have an entire collection of buttons, but of course the purple buttons is the smallest of the collection. My mum did give me these buttons, but they are a little bit too small and a little bit too dark. So I went to Lincraft this morning, which is the only place I kind of get nicer buttons. And I went with these ones. The light's not really picking them up, but they are just sort of a light purple colour. So this pattern does come with a buttonhole template of where to put the buttonholes, but I'm just using this extendable buttonhole marker. You can get them at sewing shops, you can get them online as well. I only have 6 buttons, so I'm just going to line the last one up with the seam down the end, and I think that is kind of perfect. So we'll go through and mark those buttonholes now. So this is a test swatch for the buttons. I've just put a bit of interfacing in the middle of it because that's what it's going to have to sew through. I've put my button foot on and just going to slide it under and do a test buttonhole. I'll rip it open and see if the button fits. I just finished the buttonholes. I'll show you. And I've also ripped them open with my seam ripper. So I'm going to give this a wash and get rid of the blue pen markings, and also try and wash out the stain that was on the front of the shirt, and then sew on the buttonholes, and I will see you at the final reveal with some final thoughts. I actually love this pattern so much. I made another one really quickly yesterday out of this beautiful gingham fabric that I showed you earlier in the video. This pattern is a great beginner pattern. I know it's been out for some time. I know there's probably a lot of people that have already sewn this pattern and tested it, and I'm a little bit late to the party. But if you're a beginner sewer and you're looking for really easy patterns, I recommend getting this one. You don't have to fit the sleeves in, you don't have to do the buttons if you don't want to, you can just do one over the head. You can alter it to make the sleeves longer if you want, make it shorter. It is a really, really versatile pattern, and I think out of really fun fabrics you can make a garment that's really beautiful. So if you've liked this video, please give it a like and please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm going to try and post weekly on a Wednesday, but I do work full time, so I may not have the chance to sew and then film and edit a video, but I am going to try and post weekly. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.